They say life begins at 40, but no one really explains why. Is it just a cute phrase to make us feel better about getting older, or is there something deeper going on? In this video, I am breaking down the real reasons your 40s might be the most powerful and liberating decade of your life. We're going to talk about the big stuff: identity, time, purpose, and why you might be finally ready to stop shrinking and start fully showing up. No fluff, no cliches, just the truth about what really happens when you hit 40 and why that's when everything finally clicks. Let's get into it. I have got 7 truths about your 40s that I want to share with you, starting with truth number 1. You know what's funny? When I was a teenager, I thought that 40 meant your life was basically over. Like, game over, lady. Pack it up, start moisturizing more aggressively, and looking into caftans. Of course, I got that message from everywhere. I grew up reading 17 and Cosmo magazines, and I remember seeing a very common feature. It was like a 2-page spread on a topic, and it would have these columns for what to do in different decades of your life, for whatever the topic was. Like the top skincare tips for what you should be doing in your teens, your 20s, your 30s, and then 40 plus. It wasn't just skincare, it was everything: workwear, hairstyles, nutrition, whatever. But always that final column, 40 plus. Of course, I felt like when I eventually hit 40, that would be it. That was the last phase. You've fallen off a cliff and landed in elderly adjacent. And I believed it. But here's the truth about your 40s. 40 isn't the end of youth, it's the end of pretending. This is the decade where you stop shrinking. You stop performing. You stop living by everyone else's expectations and start living by your own. Anyone remember that scene in When Harry Met Sally when Meg Ryan is bawling her eyes out to Billy Crystal in full meltdown mode, and right in the middle of her self-pity spiral, she wails, "And I'm gonna be 40!" And he says, "When?" And she says, So I saw that movie in the theater when it first came out. I was 17. And even at 17, I felt that sense of doom. Like 40 was this looming monster. But also I felt this strange relief at the time because 40 was still very, very far away from me. But fast forward to me approaching my actual 40th birthday for real. And I remember thinking, well, someday has arrived, princess. But instead of spiraling, I started waking up. This was the age where I realized that I didn't have to keep proving myself anymore. I didn't need to keep contorting to fit into somebody else's mold. It was the beginning of owning who I actually was, not who I thought that I was supposed to be. Mary Catherine Bateson said, "We are not what we know, but what we are willing to learn." And the biggest thing that I learned, who I wasn't. I wasn't the people pleaser anymore. I wasn't the girl trying to win the gold stars. I wasn't performing womanhood by somebody else's script. I was done pretending. And that felt powerful. Truth number 1 about your 40s is that you finally know who you are and who you're not. But the next truth, it's the one that changes how you walk into every room. So here's a fun little plot twist that no one tells you about your 40s. You start caring way less about what people think of you and way more about whether you're being true to yourself. Like, am I living in alignment, or am I still playing some role that I don't even like? There's a quote that I love. "I used to walk into a room and wonder if they liked me. Now I walk in and wonder if I like them." That is a whole identity shift. It's the beginning of being deeply selective. Not because you're a snob, but because you finally understand that your energy is precious. Science backs this up. According to the Stanford Center on Longevity, emotional stability and self-acceptance actually peak in midlife. You're not imagining that inner calm. It's real. It's brain chemistry. It's lived experience, and it's earned. When I was younger, I bent myself into a million shapes trying to be palatable. Now, I'm more interested in being free. If it's not a full body yes, it's a no. If it doesn't feel aligned, I'm out. And if someone doesn't like me for it, that is their work to do. Truth number 2 is that you care less about approval and more about alignment. And what comes next? That's truth number 3. And honestly, it changes everything. So let's talk about something radical that happens in your 40s. You stop asking for permission to take up space. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. And you stop worrying about whether you're qualified enough. You stop dimming your light just to make other people more comfortable. Basically, you stop playing small, and that is truth number 3 about your 40s. Now, to be clear, I still had fears. When I left medicine, it wasn't because I felt fearless. It was because I knew that shrinking was slowly killing me. There was this voice inside me saying, you were made for more. And for the first time in my life, I actually listened. Because here's what I realized. No one is ever going to give you permission to live the life you really want. You have to claim it. I love this quote by Angela Davis. I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept. You know what's really wild? According to Forbes, women in their 40s and 50s are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs. Not 25-year-olds, not 30-year-olds, 40-somethings. Because by the time we hit this age, we're done with the BS. We want to build something real, something that is ours. We're not chasing approval anymore, we're chasing impact. And let me tell you, it is so liberating to stop playing it safe, to stop holding back, to finally say the thing, launch the thing, become the thing that has been inside you all along. So if you're in your 40s right now or getting close, hear me when I say this. Your power is not fading, it's just arriving. All right, the next one, it's subtle at first until it changes how you spend every single day. There's something that shifts in your 40s that no one really prepares you for. You start feeling time differently. It's not just birthdays or laugh lines or your knees making mysterious noises. It's a deep cellular awareness that this life thing, it's not a dress rehearsal. And that awareness, it's not morbid, it's motivational. I remember hitting 42 and realizing I'm not in the someday part of life anymore. This is the main act. No more pushing dreams into the corner with a sticky note that says later. Later is now. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, it is not the length of life, but depth of life. This is the age where I started ruthlessly protecting my time, not just from bad meetings or social obligations that I didn't want, but from the ways that I used to waste it. Scrolling, overcommitting, people-pleasing, second-guessing, all of it had to go. Because now I'm thinking in terms of return on energy. Now I'm asking, does this matter? Does this bring me closer to the life that I actually want? Many studies have found that happiness often dips in our late 30s and then starts rising again in our 40s and 50s. Why? Because we stop chasing everything and start focusing on what matters. We stop saying yes to every shiny thing, and we start building a life that feels solid, real, grounded. Time is no longer something that I fill. It's something that I honor. So truth number 4 is that you wake up to time and use it differently. Okay, the next one, it's where the old definitions of strength fall apart and something better takes their place. So let's talk about strength. Because when I was younger, I thought strong meant thin, or toned, or polished. Now I know better. Strength is knowing what you will and will not tolerate. Strength is setting boundaries without guilt. Strength is having the guts to let go of what's no longer right for you. And in your 40s, that strength finally kicks in. But here's the part that no one tells you. It's not because life suddenly gets easier. It's because by now, you've been through some things. You have survived heartbreaks, you've buried dreams, you've had friendships end, careers shift, your body changed in ways that you never saw coming, and you're still here. That's strength. I remember a season in my 40s where I felt like everything was unraveling. Old beliefs were breaking down, and I was rebuilding not just my career, but my whole sense of self. And it was messy. But it was also clarifying. That's the thing about midlife. You stop being afraid of the mess because you realize the mess is often where the magic is. Rumi said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Psychologists call it post-traumatic growth, the idea that we don't just recover from challenges, we can actually come out of them stronger and more compassionate and more aligned than ever. And get this, studies show that emotional intelligence and empathy and resilience, these increase with age. Your brain gets better at navigating complexity. Your heart gets wiser. And you become someone who can weather storms and still radiate peace. So yeah, my abs may not be what they were in my 20s, but my spirit, my self-respect, my capacity to love and lead, stronger than ever. So truth number 5 about your 40s is that you get stronger in ways that actually matter. The next truth, it's not something that you learn from a book. You learn it by living. So here's what hits you like a freight train in your 40s. You've spent a lot of your life in a supporting role, in your own story. You were cast as the helper, the fixer, the achiever, the good girl, the reliable one. And for a while, that worked. It even got you praise and promotions and popularity. But eventually, if you're lucky, you realize you don't want to be a background character anymore. You want to be the one holding the pen. You want to write the script, not just follow the one that was handed to you. This hit me hard when I started untangling my identity from the role that I had built as a doctor. I was successful, I was respected, but deep down, I knew I was living someone else's definition of a meaningful life. And listen, it's not that I didn't care about the work. It's that I wasn't the author. I was performing a role that had been assigned to me at 17 before I even knew who I really was. So I rewrote the story. I started making bolder decisions. I started showing up more fully, not just professionally, but personally. Alice Walker said, "The most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any." Here's the truth. That main character energy isn't about being loud or dramatic. It's about being conscious. It's about saying, I am no longer living on autopilot. I am no longer outsourcing my joy, my time, my values. You become the one who chooses. You stop waiting for approval. You stop letting other people's opinions set the tone of your life. And the best part, you don't have to ask anyone for permission to do it. Truth number 6 is that you become the main character instead of the supporting cast. And finally, there's one more truth that no one prepares you for, but once it lands, you just can't go back. There's a moment somewhere in your 40s where the fog clears and suddenly you start seeing through the BS, the beauty standards, the career ladders, the hustle for worthiness, the you shoulds, and the by now you should haves. You start questioning everything that you were taught to chase. And here's what's interesting. You don't even feel angry about it. You just feel free. I remember flipping through one of those glossy magazines that I used to obsess over, and instead of thinking, ooh, I should try that anti-aging serum, I found myself thinking, who benefits from me believing that I need to fix myself? And just like that, I was out. Because let's be real, so many of the things that we thought were rules were just marketing, or outdated scripts, or somebody else's fear disguised as advice. Mark Twain said it perfectly. Age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. In your 40s, you start living with sharper eyes and a softer heart. You see through the performance and the pretending and the pressure, and you choose something different. You choose peace over proving, alignment over approval, and real over polished. And maybe most of all, you choose you. Truth number 7 about your 40s is that you see through the BS and it sets you free. If you're in your 40s right now or you're getting close, this isn't a crisis. It's not your downfall. It's not the beginning of the end. It's your becoming, your reset. your most powerful chapter yet. And if you're ready to make the most of it, then I've got something for you. You can grab my free 5-day challenge, The Reset. It's linked below. It'll help you to clear the clutter, sharpen your focus, and reconnect to who you really are and who you're becoming. Because life doesn't end at 40, it finally begins. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I think that you are going to like the one that I have got coming up for you next. On the next screen, it's the 7 things that you need to stop doing after 40. I will see you there. Not because you're a snob, but because you finally understand. You finally understand what? Hang on. I'm gonna take sip of tea. All right, there we go. That's a wrap.